Thank you and good evening. I'd like to join the organizers to welcome you here tonight. Thank you, my film, and congratulations to you for bringing us all together tonight. But before I say anything else, let me ask you, those of you in the room tonight who have crossed the ocean by boat, please raise your hands. I'd like us tonight to salute these people. These have always been my heroes. These are the people who've made history. These are the people who took on the exodus with the boat people and to declare to the world that we want our freedom. I'd like them to stand up and for us to salute them. These are the people who did something that had never been done before. So I actually salute them, and joining together with the filmmakers, producers tonight, and all of us tonight, to make a little bit of history. If these people make history, we shouldn't shy away from making history ourselves tonight. And I want you to be able to think tonight that we will break a certain silence starting tonight. You may want to ask, the story of the boat people is an old story. Why should we tell it today? Why should we now go back to that kind of story? And my job at the same time is to tell the news, to report to you what happened today. And we won't go back at the same time and report on history, and I feel very bad about that. History is usually delegated to historians, but historians are rarely ourselves. And in the 30 years since we left our country, in the 30 years since the end of the war, a lot has been said about the Vietnam War. It's been far too long that the stories of the boat people have been neglected. So tonight I ask you to help and join all of us to support this film and to break the silence about the boat people. We should not let just other people tell our history. Tonight, let us own that history. Let us make that history our own and take ownership of our own stories, and let us tell our own history and help documentary filmmakers for you to tell us your story and tell our stories to the world. We have to own that story. It is our story. It is our story as Vietnamese Americans. It is our story as Americans. And let me tell you, people always ask me why I became a journalist. I became a journalist precisely because I wanted to be able to tell those stories and to give voice to the people who have not been so outspoken before. And I joined with you tonight in order to help make that history and to make me feel a little bit less bad telling the story of the boat people. Recently, we've seen a lot of stories about the end of the war, the 30th anniversary of the end of the war. And many stories, as I said, have been told about the war and what Vietnam is like today. There have been a lot of stories about the success of the Vietnamese in being to America, the triumph and the sentiments of those who have left the country. And that was followed by the reporting on the visit by the Prime Minister of Vietnam and by stories on the relations between the US and Vietnam. Those stories, among those stories, there was a missing story, the story about boat people. That story was absent in the newspapers, in the media, on TV. It was not told. So tonight we will make history, we will tell that story, we will break the silence tonight. I had the privilege to go to work in 1983-84 in the refugee camp in Bolinao. And I met almost boat people, all of the people who have risked their life to come to look for a chance. And of all the people who went to work, I was the only Vietnamese American who had gone back to work. And people kept coming to me and asking the same question over and over again. And it's a question that I still ask myself, how do we make sense of the trips, of the struggle, of the risks, of the danger, and of the determination of those people who were the boat people? And I still know very well that it is about a choice to be free. It's about a choice to take your own life and make something of it rather than living in a place where the government, authorities, and others control your life. That doesn't make sense still of what I saw as the suffering of the people who came to these refugee camps. There was another question that I used to ask these refugees when I was working in the camp. And I asked these people, what would you do when you come to the States? What would you like to become? And people thought about it. And in the classroom, people would tell me, well, I want to be a teacher. I'd like to become an electrical repairman. I'd like to be an English student. These were very simple desires, simple dreams. They crossed an ocean. They risked their lives. People put their families at risk in that way to have the freedom to pursue a very simple dream, to become a repairman, to teach. But it is about freedom to do what one wants, whether it is to be an engineer or whether it is about fixing TV. And I asked that question of people, and they were telling me these stories, their dreams with a lot of fear, a lack of confidence, because in those camps, nobody knew what life was like in America. But they had very simple goals and simple dreams, and they couldn't do it in their own home country, and they had to cross the ocean that way. And when I used to ask that question, people would laugh when I said to them, no, you're coming to America not only to be an engineer, not to be a doctor, a dentist, or a teacher. You're coming to America to be a Vietnamese. Because I want them to think what it meant to be a Vietnamese overseas, what it meant to be a Vietnamese in America. It is to be an engineer, it is to be a teacher. It is about making a life, creating a life for yourselves where you weren't able to do that before. But it is about being free, and it is about being responsible, being a Vietnamese in a country that welcomes you, and you take on the responsibility, you take on the life, and you take control of it. And you risk your life in Vietnam, you risk your life on the ocean, because you did not want to waste that life. And you wanted to come to America and make something of yourself. And tonight, we will help tell the stories of those people who tried to do that. We will protect them, we will support them, we will retell that story, because that story is now no longer a Vietnamese story, that story is an American story. These are the people who have come to America to renew this country, to give to America the determination, the risk-taking, the desire to have your own life in your own hands, the desire to control your own life. So, I want to ask you to think about the liberty that these people wanted and join us tonight. Because we, after 30 years in this country, will not be remembered solely for being a community that produced a person who wrote the Patriot Act. That Patriot Act is about protecting liberty, but I tell you, protecting liberty does not mean taking away liberty from other people. And we cannot afford that. We've risked our life to come here to America. We will not do that. We will not stop people from coming to this country. We will not make it difficult for others to come here with visa problems. We will not allow the government to listen to our conversations, to our telephone calls, and to check on us all the time, because that's what we left behind. That's what we escaped to avoid having our lives in the hands of others. And we cannot afford to have a Patriot Act. We will break that silent button. I want you to help me and help the producers tonight to retell that story of all the waves of immigrants, the waves of the people who have spoken up before, to raise their voice, to demand their liberty, their freedom, and their sense of control of their lives in America. And that means to be Vietnamese in this country. It is to give to America, because we Vietnamese people are thankful and are grateful people, and we will give back to America. We give nothing more than that liberty through our determination and our suffering. These people have faced the ocean, the terror, the uncertainty of life, and the 50-50 chance of surviving. These are the Vietnamese people that have come to America, and they have made history in this country. And we will make history tonight by breaking the silence, by telling the story, by helping to make this film a reality. We will tell the story of how Vietnamese both people being in America, we brought to America our values, our ways of being, our ways of thinking. We will break that silence, and we will make history. And I always think how wonderful that at Vietnamese gatherings throughout the country here, and I've been to a lot of them, we always dedicate 3 minutes of silence at the beginning of each of these things to remember those who did make it, those who died in the war, or those who died trying to cross the ocean to get to a place where they can decide what they want to be in their lives. But it's always odd to me that that silence has remained with us in those 30 years. And tonight we will be making history. Promise me that we will break that silence. We will remember those who passed, those who are still in the Philippines. We will remember. And we will break that silence, we will tell their story, and we will make history. And I want you to really support the filmmakers. Thank you.